He defines an old school political leader. Our next guest in On Politics, former Chief Minister, Madhya Pradesh, current Rajya Sabha MP, and one of Congress's most senior leaders. We have with us Mr. Digvijay Singh. Welcome, sir. Welcome to On Politics. Thank you for taking the time out.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. We are very glad we are here, away from the horrible air in Delhi. Most will not agree when the party of their choice is in denial of their own failures. Right now, the perception, Digvijay ji, is that there is a delusion where the Congress is concerned, where you're constantly blaming not you, your party, everything else but your own mistakes. The same Congress which makes these demands and makes these accusations in Bihar is the same Congress who today is celebrating their Jubilee Hill win in Hyderabad by-elections. Your win in by-elections in Rajasthan. Then take a stand. Then take a stand that we don't agree with this process.
The point, this is what a clever man would do, a clever politician would do.
You were blamed for what happened in Madhya Pradesh.
But you see, this is my life. I've been blamed for everything.
That you say you haven't done.
Because they're not done. Why? Because I have been totally against the ideology of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh and the Jansangh and the Bharatiya Janata Party, and they hate me.
Thank you, Digvijay ji, for taking the time out. We are very glad, like I said, to be away from the horrid Delhi air in Bhopal. Bhopal is a beautiful city.
Yes,
Thank you, for accepting our invitation on On Politics. Yeah. The format of this show is such, Digvijay ji, that, I'm sure you're used to very rich introductions. But where our guest introduces himself or herself to our listeners and audience, how would Digvijay Singh introduce himself to our listeners?
Well, I think I would say that it is better for others to think what I am rather than saying something which I feel that people may feel that I'm rather sort of overestimating myself. That's out. The point is, I want others to sort of assume and sort of feel or make an assessment of what Digvijay Singh is. For example, it is people from the press box, who have known me for last 45, 50 years in politics. They should make their own assessment and come out with it. And I have a thick skin. I'm prepared to take any criticism without reacting. So it is better not to sort of take from me what I am and what I should be.
But Digvijay ji, for someone who spent 50 years in public life,
yes,
it's been a while. There has to be some form of assessment of how you look at yourself and, what this time span has translated for yourself.
Well, to begin with, I was never interested in politics to the extent that during my university days, I never went to even vote for the college elections. I was too busy playing games. I represented my university in cricket and hockey. I was in the national rank in squash. Tennis I used to play also. And more so because I was in engineering college, I had more to study than what usually the commerce or the art stream people do. So therefore, I was never interested in politics. But
what led you to join politics then?
Well, in my final year, I lost my father very early. And I had applied for my master's degree in industrial engineering abroad. But then I had two elder sisters who were married. Then my younger brother was about 8 years my junior. And another sister, 10 years junior. So my mother said, "Bhai, now you have to look after the family now." So I said, fine. So I gave up my hope of doing my masters, and also had to sort of stay back in my hometown, it was then a small town, about 8,000 population. Then it so happened that there was a municipal election in Raugarh. That time it was Jan Sangh. So the Jan Sangh won 3, Congress won 3, 2 were independent. So they couldn't decide who to elect as the president of the Nagarpalika. So they came to me and said, why don't you become the president of the Nagarpalika Rakhugarh, that is in Guna district, Madhya Pradesh. I said, I don't mind, but I'm not in politics. They said, doesn't matter, you become. So I agreed and I became the president of the Raugarh Nagarpalika at the age of, I think, 22. Because at that time there was no need to fight an election for the ward member or otherwise. Any voter, any citizen of that town could be elected, could contest as a president. So I became the president of the Nagarpalika, independent. I was not in politics. I was not in any party. Although my father was a Gandhian. My father, he joined Congress party in 1939-40, wore khadi, and he left Congress in 1947 when Gandhiji gave a call to sort of Congress party should now do constructive work. Then he sort of stayed out. Then 1952 he contested as an independent, where he defeated the Hindu Mahasabha and the Congress both. And he was in the assembly from 1952 to 57. That time it was Madhya Bharat. It was Madhya Pradesh came into existence only 1956 after reorganization of the Indian states. So we had that background. Although after that my constituency became reserved. So in 1957 he did not contest, but he kept on supporting the Congress party. In 57, 62. Then 67 Rajmata Scindia became the member of parliament, Vijayaraje Scindia. In 1967 she had some tiff with Pandit Dwarka Prasad Mishra, and she contested on a Swatantra party ticket from that constituency, of which Raugarh Assembly segment was a part of. And she won. Later on, in 1967, I lost my father. And Rajmata Scindia by then joined Jan Sangh. And then later on, she wanted me to join Jan Sangh.
She wanted you to join Jan Sangh?
Yes.
It's quite an antithesis for what you've been
yes.
and what you say.
Yes. So she sent Jan Sangh leaders, BJP, the Jan Sangh leader was Mr. Kushabhau Thakre, with one of the senior most. He came to my hometown, gave me some books on Guru Golwalkar, Savarkar, and their ideological publications that they usually distribute. In the meantime, Mr. Govind Narayan Singh had become the chief minister. This was the first, I would say, time defection took place, and the Samyukt Vidhayak Dal became the government in power, supported by Jan Sangh at that time. He was from the Congress party, so he came to know that they are sort of trying to get me into Jan Sangh.
Were you actually thinking about it? Did you read the kind of literature that you were given?
I did.
You did read it?
I did. Then
did it make sense to you?
One second. Then Govind Narayan Singh ji said, you read their literature also, but also read Nehru, also read Gandhi, also read Ambedkar, then also read that famous book of Ramdhari Singh Ji Dinkar, Sanskriti ke Char Adhyay. Now, I was admitted in a boarding school at the age of 4.5 years. So all my, I would say, school days were spent in boarding. And we had Muslims friends, Christian friends, Sikhs, everyone. And there was nothing to sort of differentiate between on the basis of religion. With that kind of training, that kind of upbringing, and even my mother was a very pious lady, and my father was, of course, as I told you. So my upbringing has always been that liberal, modern, and I would say pro people. In fact, you will be surprised that in 1940-41, my father allowed the entry of scheduled castes, untouchables, in our temples. That is the upbringing I had, which was quite contrary to what RSS and BJP and the Jansangh were telling me. So I read Gandhi, I read Nehru, because I came from an engineering background. So then I also read Ramdhari Singh Dinkar, and finally decided, sorry, I can't go to Jansangh ideologically, because I don't believe in this kind of sort of ideology where you sort of don't accept any other religion, any other thought. So finally in 72 I joined Congress Party.
Digvijay ji, you come from royal lineage, and were you brought up with the, with what is the stereotype of a silver spoon?
Come on.
Or, what was it? Because even till date, it's something that you have to deal with in terms of political taunts.
No, the point is, when a child is admitted in a boarding school at the age of 4.5-year-old, so he has not been pampered like the royals may be pampered in their own houses. So I grew up with other friends, and there were scholarship holders coming from the poorest of the poor societies. So I think we never had, personally I never had this kind of a life.
I'm going to circle back, to this conversation, but I just want to bring it into the current context. You've been very vocal. You're a senior Congress leader. You've been very, very vocal about the Congress, the prospects of the Congress, the current situation, the current electioneering process. You've always raised doubts about the EVMs. You've raised doubts about the SIR, the voter list. Would you want to take a moment and reflect on the Congress's possibly worst performance since 2010 in Bihar?
Well, we have had bad periods in Bihar, in UP, particularly after the demolition of Babri Masjid. The Congress party made this alliance in Uttar Pradesh with BSP, and then to keep this ideology of the RSS and the BJP out, we compromised with the regional parties. So that sort of, we could not build up the party as we should have in states like UP and Bihar. Now, as far as this election goes, the fact is, the special intensive revision is really asking the voters to prove that they are Indian citizens. The kind of, I would say, certificates the common man has to submit to prove that he has to be registered as a voter, he's entitled to be registered as a voter, is not possible in remote areas, rural areas, in remote tribal areas, forest areas. Now they are asking for the out of the 11, the common sort of identity sort of card is the Aadhaar card today. Unfortunately, they have not really accepted as one of the primary things. But in constitution, under the constitution, it is the Election Commission of India which is responsible for registering every citizen of this country as a voter. Now, Citizenship Act is quite different. It is not the right of the Election Commission of India to ask for the citizenship of any individual. Number one. Number two, it is the responsibility of the Election Commission to sort of fill in the form and then register the voter in the voter list. This time it has been reversed. Even in 2003 SIR in Bihar, the form was not filled by the voter. The obligation was on the Election Commission of India, who then went house to house. It took almost a year or 2 years in the state of Bihar in 2003. This time they wanted to complete in 1 month. And that too when there was monsoons, floods in Bihar. So what has happened is something which we sort of all thought that it would be an impossible task. People went to the Honorable Supreme Court, and Honorable Supreme Court did sort of hear us out. But the fact remains that no decision was taken about SIR. The simplest thing could have been that the list, existing list, voter list of Bihar could have been used in the election. And this could have been postponed, SIR. So it could be held post Bihar elections. This is one. Now what happened in this Bihar SIR? 62 lakh votes were deleted. Okay. Then 20 lakh votes were added, out of which 5 lakhs votes the person did not even register there, did not fill up the forms. Now all this brings a lot of doubts in the mind. Now therefore I think the critical issue was of course the deletion part. If you analyze it, there is of course, it can be said both ways, yes or no. But the fact remains, the constitutional duty of the Election Commission of India is to see that every citizen is registered as a voter. Now, as far as my proof of being a citizen is, of course, my sort of being birth in the country, and also we are governed by Citizenship Act. Now, they have always been saying Ghuspetia, Ghuspetia, Ghuspetia. Where were the Ghuspetias? BJP from day one, Jansangh onwards, they have always been sort of turning every issue into Hindu-Musliman. This, I think, goes very basics of our Indian constitution and basic against the very idea of India. And therefore, I think, and also I'm a pious, devout Hindu. The Sanatan Dharma by itself is respect to all religions. This is even what Swami Vivekananda ji had said.
Okay.
The point I'm trying to make is that when you talk of, politics in India at present, I got elected first time in 1977. And then I've been in assembly for 5 terms, in Lok Sabha also, now Rajya Sabha. I have always felt that the Congress party, which has been a party of movement, has to sort of take organization more seriously. Okay. Now, this is what my line has been. I started my career as a district Congress committee general secretary when I joined Congress party. Then I became the general secretary of the state youth Congress committee when I became an MLA after that. And at a young age of 37, I was given the opportunity by Rajiv Gandhi ji to become the PCC president at the age of 37-year-old. And that time, there were stalwarts in Madhya Pradesh. Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma, Prakash Chand Sethi, Shama Chand Shukla, Vidya Chand Shukla, then Arjun Singh ji, Kamal Nath ji, Motilal Vora.
Right.
And then I was a young man of 37. But from day one, I have been a man who sort of is this person who sort of can work with anyone. And this is what I did. I brought all the followers of the senior leaders on board, and we never had any problem. See, in my life, I've always felt a political person has to keep 5 essential sort of points in his life. One is sampark, that is contact. Second is samvad, this is dialogue. Third is samanvay, coordination. Fourth is samanjasya. Samanjasya is that you have to sort of know how to manage contradictions. And of course, fifth is sakaratmak soch, that is positive thinking. And whichever opportunity I got in the organization, I have done fairly well. Even as
Has the Congress done fairly well in what you're saying? In those 5 bulwarks of politics for you?
No, this is what I'm saying. It depends on individuals. The contact, sampark, is extremely important. Now, for example, Rahul Gandhi ji walked from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. There was this mass contact. And he himself has confessed that it was a great opportunity and a great education for him. Unfortunately, we have not been able to do this to an extent which we should have done. Even today, our organization is not as strong as it should have been. If you compare with Jan Sangh or BJP today, they have got a committed workers of pracharaks who are trained on only one thing, Hindu Rashtra. And whatever the issue comes to them, whatever is planted in their mind, they sort of go along. So always tell people that there's a difference between BJP, RSS and the Congress party. They are pracharaks. They just do what they've been asked to do. Congress party is a vicharak. We have an open platform. We discuss and we sort of also try to think and talk and convince the other person that this is what I feel like. The opportunity to speak up to your mind. This unfortunately has been, I would say, not there in the BJP. So it's a very closed mind. Therefore, organizationally they have become stronger because they only sort of concentrate on the organization. We have free discussions, but at the same time, being a party of movement, we should have taken organization more seriously as they do. Because you must understand that there is a difference between the North Indian politics and South Indian politics. It is here where the Jan Sangh, RSS and BJP have always been very strong. And Madhya Pradesh is a nursery of RSS, Jan Sangh. So therefore I think a lot more effort should have gone from our side in or sort of building up stronger, I would say, organization, which unfortunately we have not been able to.
Digvijayji, you talk about the SIR in detail and playing a part in the Bihar debacle for your alliance. But data doesn't suggest that. If you look at it today, data seem seemingly suggests that, you talk about deletions. 4 constituencies where there were maximum deletions, 4 constituencies where there were minimum deletions. Both have been won by the BJP and the NDA. So that doesn't really, explain the loss that you have seen. My question is, which many are asking, sir, today, is the Congress, because is unable to reform, Congress which is unable to reinvent, is now looking at excuses like the SIR, like the EVMs, and constantly trying to blame others.
No. Let us
reflect.
Let us keep the results apart.
Separate. Okay.
What I'm trying to say is why the Election Commission of India is not transparent in its functioning. Why it has not been able to communicate. And what was the reason to push this SIR in Bihar so that it can be completed one month? So I'm saying that this is the constitutional failure of the Election Commission of India, that they have not taken their task impartially and seriously by not registering every voter, every citizen of this country as a voter.
Sir, can I counter that? Because you've got a fair point. I do believe as a journalist that the Election Commission needs to be more transparent.
Also, let me finish.
Finish, sir.
Now, as far as EVM is concerned, you see, every democracy today outside, every developed, I would say, democratic country, they are not using EVM. Wherever they are using computers or a machine, they are giving a receipt to the voter, to which he sees that his vote has been correctly registered. And then they put it in a separate box. This is the way this has been. And this is the simplest thing we have been demanding from the day one when VVPAT was introduced. Now, fact is, in 2013, the decision of the Supreme Court was that the VVPAT should be brought in, voter verifiable slip should be brought in.
Mr. Gogoi brought it in. I understand, sir.
Now, but at the same time, it meant in my hand, not what I see on
Digvijay, you've been very, very vocal about the EVMs. But the fact is, and I don't want to, because you've spoken about this before, and it's, there's no point getting into an argument on that account. Because the EVMs came during your time, which is Rajiv Gandhi's time, and there was different EVMs. I understand. I understand those were different.
You can't compare. You can't compare the two. Also, because that time, the computer, and there was no software. It was not recognizing the symbol.
Okay,
it was simply a button, and on that basis, the results were given.
So the argument
after VVPAT, things have changed.
I'm giving you a basic argument, which is the EVMs came around the time of the Congress. You won many elections at the back of the same EVM. You continue to win many elections, a few elections rather, on the back. Hear me out, sir. On the back of the same EVMs. The Election Commission did also do a press conference where they said that come, if you want to hack the EVM, go ahead. Nobody showed up. No political party showed up. And therefore they also say that why, raise questions now. But, those were things of the past. You continue to hold the EVMs possibly responsible for what's going on right now. Even with the SIR, in terms of political parties, your own BLAs on ground, there were not many complaints which actually went to the Election Commission in terms of people whose vote have been cut and deletions. That hasn't quite happened. So therefore, when you look at it holistically, it does seem, Digvijay, that the Congress especially is looking for excuses to actually blame their own political loss. You talk about the EC needing to be more transparent. I do agree with you. As a journalist, I agree with you that the Election Commission of this country needs to be more transparent.
Yeah.
But so does the principal opposition right now, which is your party.
Yes.
There are voters who look at you, who vote your party because they have faith in your party. And most will not agree when the party of their choice is in denial of their own failures. Right now, the perception, Digvijay, is that there is a delusion where the Congress is concerned, where you're constantly blaming not you, your party, everything else but your own mistakes.
No.
Refusing to reflect on reform and trying to reinvent your own self.
No, Preeti, I think you're a little unfair on that. We have always been very open about this. and introspection has taken place after every result. Now, let me tell you also that basically the demand of the Congress party has been a free and fair election, and every successful democracy must have a free and fair election. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that let us keep the results separate. Shouldn't Election Commission of India be more transparent? Because ultimately the success of democracy in any country depends on a free and fair election, and that is their only task, constitutional duty. Have they been performing in the way they should have been doing? So let us keep the results. We can keep on arguing on this as long as you want
But
to.
Digvijay,
The point I'm trying to make is that our demand is simple. Please give us a voter list which is machine readable. Okay. This is the responsibility of the Election Commission of India, so that we can find the duplication of votes in few seconds. Now you say no. You go to every booth and find out, and how do we know that other booth may not have the same name? So therefore, when they are using technology everywhere, and in the EVM machine also, why not give us a machine readable voter list format, which we can find out that there are no duplication of votes.
But Digvijay ji, shouldn't the Congress then make a...
One second, let me finish. This is our primary request. Now, second, the special intensive revision is taken in a decade, 2 decades. But summary, I would say, revision is taking place every time. Now, they are deleting 62 lakh votes which are already there in the voter list. And what is the opportunity for us to appeal? How do we? They did not even allow, they did not even make it public. The list, only at the behest of the Supreme Court, it was given only for 7 days. It was not possible. The point I'm trying to make is, if you want our democracy to survive and succeed in this country, it has to be transparent, and the duty of the Election Commission of India that every citizen is registered as a voter, and it's a free and fair election. So what are our demands? Simple. Our demands is a machine readable voter list, number one, and EVM, a receipt of the vote VVPAT slip. Why don't you give it?
Digvijay, I'll tell you why this demand is then diluted, especially to your voters, and why it doesn't come out very strongly. Because the same Congress which makes these demands and makes these accusations in Bihar is the same Congress who today is celebrating their Jubilee Hill win in Hyderabad by-elections. Your win in by-elections in Rajasthan. Then take a stand. Then take a stand that we don't agree with this process.
To me. The point, this is what a clever man would do, a clever politician would do. If it happens in every election, they'll be exposed. So they do it selectively. Now, by-election, what I'm trying to say, what we are demanding is simple. Point is, how does this happen? Any machine which has a software, it does not follow the command of the person who's operating it. It follows the command of the software in it. We've been demanding, please make the software and open, bring it to the bring it to the public domain. Why this is not being done? The point I'm to take is, let us not go in results. This is something what is most important in a democracy is that free and fair elections, number one. And number two, every voter has to be registered, every citizen has to be registered as a voter. And also every voter must be convinced that the vote has gone to the person whom he voted for.
So you've said that. Now, I agree with you, but also what is most important, and I'm sure you will agree with me, in a democracy is for a political party to take a stand. You are saying, and for a moment, let's put results aside. Right, let's put results of Jubilee Hill, Hyderabad by-polls, which happened at the same time of Bihar aside, Rajasthan by-polls aside, or the fact that this time around in 2024 elections, the BJP couldn't get the 370 and 240, right? Let's just look at that and just say this is by design. Let me agree with you and say this is all by design by the government, that they want to give you a few and win most, right? But your party should take a stand. Why do you accept the few then? Till the time the Congress doesn't, then you take a stand. You say that we don't agree with this kind of election process, because what it's sounding like right now is you will take your wins where you get it. You will celebrate those wins, which you do, which the Congress does.
See,
Yet you will criticize the election process.
Preeti,
Either take a stand and say we do not agree with this process.
Preeti, principally, what I'm trying to say is that in a free and in a democracy, in a successful democracy, in a vibrant democracy, we are called the mother of democracy. Should a democracy not have a transparent and a fair and free election process?
I agree, sir. So
But-
take a stand. The
so
Congress
we have-
should say
we
we
have
don't
taken-
believe in
we-
these
we-
elections.
no,
We
we
will
have-
not participate in these elections.
The point I'm trying to make is this is the other extreme. The other extreme. Let us not take. There's a group of people who are saying that we should boycott elections. But what happened in Bangladesh? They boycotted 2 elections.
Because,
And
sir, today
then-
data doesn't, at least
Do you want this
data
country to
doesn't
go to
suggest
anarchy?
that elections are being rigged, which is a fact. Even after SIR, I'm talking about fairly data, which is
Yeah.
out in public domain. Doesn't seem to suggest that the SIR had any impact of the NDA actually winning the kind of victory it has. So data doesn't suggest it. You're not finding the kind of traction in the people you're speaking with in terms of your voter base. They are not suggesting it, that they agree with what you're saying. So therefore, if the Congress believes in it, because you can't celebrate your wins and then criticize the process.
No, the point is the data, if you see the number of percentage of votes which this RJD, Mahagathbandhan got was almost the same, but the NDA votes went up.
Because the NDA took all the other percentage which was there
What
in
I'm
the
trying
last
to say is
election.
this, but at the same time, the margins of victories in number of constituencies was less than the number of votes deleted. It was also there. What I'm trying to say is, if the margins would have been, say, plus minus 10, 15 seats, we wouldn't have accepted this. But a BJP getting a strike rate of 94%.
Yeah.
How does this happen? Has any party got this kind of mandate from day one?
2010 was in 2010 in Bihar
What?
was a similar mandate which is played out this time.
No. But this strike rate, I'm asking.
Maybe they're being able to connect with the voters more than your party, Digvijay.
This is. You may have
Maybe. It's a possibility.
You may have this view, and they may have their argument. But the fact remains.
It's not a view; it's
you
an
see,
argument.
Which was fine. View, not you.
I
I say
get
the
what
view
you're
of the party. You may have a view, but of course you are representing India today. So there is no problem on that. The fact remains that in my last 50 years of political experience, I have never seen a situation like this. We've had bad times, good times for the Congress party. It has always, it is an ideology which is an ideology, the idea of India. We accept.
Do you agree you're in bad times now?
No, we have been there in 77 also. We were wiped out. And later
That was
also.
a very short interim
And also
period.
later on also. But the fact remains that, to be fair to everyone, let me keep my party aside. Do you want this country to be a successful democratic country or not? Yes or no?
Of course.
Okay. Now, to have a successful democracy in a country like ours and a federal system of governance, is it necessary or not?
Of course. The institutions have to be stronger than the government.
There you are. Now, are they today? It does not say what it does not.
Is it a good enough alibi for you?
No,
for your party
I'm
to
not,
constantly
I'm not
question?
I'm not seeking alibi.
It seems so.
I'm a person because 2003, when I could not get a government in Madhya Pradesh, I stood by my what I said, that I will not contest the election for 10 years. To me, credibility is more important than any other posture. So, credibility is important, and therefore, for a country to have a successful democracy, otherwise we'll land up like North Korea or whatever.
Exactly, and that's why our institutions are strong.
But where are
Digvijay
the institutions?
Because we would have been then a Bangladesh. Because if you look at it, all the countries on our our neighbors are up in flames today, and the reason why India is not is because our institutions are strong. But I'll come back to that argument later. Let me
say it again.
We would have gone the same way if our institutions were not strong.
Aren't we going there?
I don't see it. Do you see it?
Of course I do. This is what
You're
my
thinking we are headed.
this is what my concern is. This is
that we are headed that way.
Absolutely, because if you keep on sort of the judiciary, the Election Commission of India, and of course the other constitutional institutions, if they are manned by people of their own ideology and own conviction, where are we heading?
So you're saying we are going to go down Sri Lanka, Nepal, or Pakistan?
This is my I'm really saying, I'm now 78-year-old, but I feel very strongly that if we don't sort of put this thing right, bring in more credibility and more, I would say, accountability in our constitutional bodies, our democracy will not survive. This is my concern. Forget about election results.
Okay.
Forget about Congress winning or BJP winning or by-election or whatever. That's not an issue. The issue is, is it not my right to have my vote registered fairly? Is it not my right to know that my vote has been correctly registered and voted?
Fair point. You made that point now.
So that is my concern.
Okay.
But the way things are being manipulated, it is a serious issue today.
I want to ask you, now you said, okay, everything aside, right? All your charges, all your accusations, all of that aside. For somebody who has been a part of the Congress or is one of the most senior leaders who's still in public life, you might say the last time it was your last election, which I think you're going to renegotiate on, but you're still, a Rajya Sabha MP.
Yeah.
If you reflect on your own political party today, Digvijay ji, what are, forget about everything. Where are you going wrong? Because clearly you are going wrong.
You see, I have always
You've been honest all the time.
I've always said what I wanted to in the party. Now,
but there are voters who want to know, who want to hear from you.
1 second. So what is needed today is a mass contact program in the country, mass awareness program in the country by the Congress party. And we have suggested in our last year Belgavi resolution.
What has come to that? Nothing.
1 second. So the process of strengthening the organization, the process has started. The decision making is slow. This is my concern also and my complaint also. At the same time, we had proposed a mass contact Padyatra throughout the country by everyone, every voter, Congress worker. So this is what is needed today in the country. A mass contact program launched by the Congress party, and the leadership should also participate in that. This, unfortunately, although a part of the resolution, has not been put to practice. This is my concern and my complaint also. The decision making of the Congress party has to be much faster and much clearer.
Digvijay ji, would you want to take a moment and reflect on the leadership? Because I'll give you a figure, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I would think 2009 was the time when Rahul Gandhi inadvertently started making decisions for the Congress, and then his position only got stronger. You have seen that very closely. You've been very close in that decision-making process, which you criticize today. And maybe you've also been a huge part of that same decision-making, slow decision-making process that you're criticizing today. You've been a part of that. You've been a part of many of these core groups which have been formed so many times. I remember there was one under Mr. Antony in 2014. We still don't know what has come of that. But the question is, so since 2009, Rahul Gandhi has been part of the decision-making process. He is your supreme leader now. 81 elections have been fought under his watch. Your party has lost, or 83 elections have been fought under his watch. Your party has lost 71. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's a matter of concern. There's no doubt about it.
Leadership is a matter of
The point
concern?
I'm trying to make is that, of course, winning and losing in a democracy is healthy.
True.
Okay.
But losing...
But one second. At the same time, I'll again go back to the very essence of a successful democracy is the protection of the constitution and the rights of the citizen and the rights of every voter. If that is protected and we lose, I have no problem. But when the constitutional bodies lose their sort of credibility, the way it is losing now, it is a matter of serious concern.
But Digvijay ji, from 2009 to 2014,
Yeah.
right, that period,
Yeah.
was still you were in power? The wave election that we saw for Prime Minister Modi in 2014, you were in power, right?
See, as far as 2009 onwards
But
is
that,
concerned,
that mandate happened under your watch,
don't
under
forget-
your
don't for-
institutions
don't
at that
for-
time.
Don't forget, Preeti, that in 2009 Parliament election, okay, we won more than 21 seats in Uttar Pradesh. Okay. Now, that is the time when VVPAT slips were not there. Okay. The point I'm trying to make is that forget about results. I'm concerned about the democracy. I'm concerned about the citizens' rights. I'm concerned about the impartiality.
Why are
of
you
the-
not
of-
concerned about your party, Digvijay
I'm coming
ji?
to that. I'm coming to that. Of the constitutional rights of every citizen and the courts. As far as my party is concerned, yes, I'm differently concerned, which I always reflect in my discussions in the working committee. Why should I sort of openly come out? And this is, I'm bound by certain, I would say, discipline within my party.
But Digvijay ji, you're also bound by the people who vote for you.
Of course,
who
yes.
can't make sense of how your party is running.
No, of course, that of course we do discuss. There's no, I'm a person who has always kept my doors open, even as Chief Minister, open for everyone to come and meet me and see. So my discussions are all there. Our discussions within the party are there. But to sort of criticize my own leadership and my party today, outside my outside the party functions or in the committees, I think it will be unfair.
Okay. I want to go back and reflect on something. Why didn't you not stand for the president elections? There was so much said at that point of time.
Yes, because I came to know that Mallikarjun Kharge ji was contesting. So he's a senior to me, and of course.
But you believe in democracy?
Of course I do.
So then-
But I thought he was a better candidate, so I supported him.
Did you pick up the phone and tell Shashi Tharoor कि आप भी बैठ जाइए?
No, why should I? Of course,
He
that
came
is
to
his
meet
right.
you.
Of course, I met him. Yes,
And
so, that is his right. I never asked him to sit down.
since then, Digvijay ji, to now what is happening? Do you think the party has lost Shashi Tharoor?
Don't say that, because
It's a-
Shashi is a person who seriously believes in the Indian Constitution. He seriously believes in respect to all religions. He can never be sort of happy, or he cannot accept the ideological, or say fanaticism of the RSS BJP.
I'm not talking about him going to the BJP. I'm saying, has the Congress lost him? Because
No,
every day
no.
your party goes out and criticizes him.
No.
Every day he makes a statement which seemingly seems to be warming up to the Prime Minister and the BJP.
This is one thing, that you make some statements. It's not supporting. I mean, if he's speaking out for some decisions which has been taken, I have no quarrel with that. The point still goes that Shashi Tharoor is not going out of the party. This is what I sincerely believe, because he will be a totally misfit there and he will not be acceptable.
Is he acceptable to your party
Of
today?
course he
because
is.
it doesn't seem so.
Of
The kind
course
of
he is.
so the statements that your spokespersons, that your party leaders are making against him today, especially, and he's also instigating it with his love for the Prime Minister, which doesn't go down well with your party.
It is not love for the Prime Minister. The point is, if he has made a statement on any national issue, it is will. But he has not made a personal, I would say a statement which sort of is contradictory to the Congress party. As
He's
such.
not made it.
I don't think so.
So you think there's still chance of him?
No, but why should I sort of say yes or no for a person? Shashi is a good friend, and he is a very articulate and a very fine political
If you have to
person.
give him advice today,
What?
if you have to give Shashi Tharoor advice today, you're older than him. You can
Well,
give him,
Of course I can, and I will if need be.
which is.
Why should I tell you?
That's fair. Fair point. Why should you tell me? But, it also smacks of a larger problem with the Congress.
Yeah.
Why I say that is, and you'd know, because you've seen it firsthand with Jyotiraditya Scindia, is to allow political leaders to completely walk away and cross over to the BJP. You've allowed that. You've allowed a Jyotiraditya Scindia. Himanta Biswa Sarma, many would say, is the making of the Congress. And their list doesn't quite end.
See, the point is,
Well, first of all, how's the relationship with Jyotiraditya Scindia? Do you still talk?
as good as they were earlier also. The point I'm trying to make is,
Do you talk?
of course we do when we meet.
Even after he's so vociferously criticizing your party, going after your
But this
leadership.
is the personal relationship. I never sort of mix with politics. My personal relationship with the BJP leaders in Madhya Pradesh has been excellent.
When was the last time you spoke with Jyotiraditya Scindia?
When we met,
When did you meet?
I think when we met in Bhopal for a function.
Oh yeah, where he took you from the audience, he walked you to the stage.
Yep.
That was the time.
Yeah.
What did he say?
And we meet sometimes in Rajya Sabha also.
You do.
Yeah,
So it's
we-
always cordial.
Very cordial, always.
Then why is it said that you were behind him leaving and...
Behind me?
Yeah, that you were behind the
Never.
entire saga that played out in
Nev-
2020 in Madhya Pradesh.
Never.
Where your government
On
fell
the
because of
on the-
Digvijay Singh was
on
the reason.
On the contrary, I have always felt that the government would have survived if our own leaders had sort of discussed their issues and sorted them out.
You were one of those leaders, Digvijay ji.
Yes, we tried. I tried my best, but let us not get into that.
Which leaders?
Huh?
So the problem was between Kamal
No,
Nath ji and Sandhya ji.
others also. It was a question of gaining each other's confidence, and minor issues were there, not major issues were there. But I think he also was very, I will say, he was very unhappy, and of course, naturally, when he lost the 2019 election, and he was in a deep depression, and therefore I think things might have gone the other way. But the fact remains that it is wrong to...
Jyotiraditya Scindia, who stood from Guna at that point of time.
Yes.
Yeah, in 2019, and he had lost that
Yes,
election. Yeah.
and lost to a very minor sort of a functionary of
You
his.
think that triggered?
Of course, yes. He was extremely. He never believed. We could never believe that he could lose from his own constituency, but it did. So, unfortunately, he took it very sensitively, and I think in politics, winning and losing is a part of life. But the fact remains, Mr. Jyotiraditya Scindia, I was the person who brought his father into Congress party during
True.
Sanjay Gandhi's time. And we almost mentored him when unfortunately we lost his father. And I've always had very fine relations with him. The point trying to make is there are two ways a political worker, a political person has to act. One is on ideological ground. And what is one for me on a personal issue? As far as I'm concerned, I am on a political, ideological ground. To me, three things are not sort of negotiable. Number one, my commitment to the ideology of the Congress party of live and let live, and issue where we have sort of absolutely respect to all religions. I will never compromise on that. We must have respect to all religions. Number two is the issue of pro-poor, pro-deprived sections of the society. That ideology is not negotiable. And number three, my commitment to the Congress party and to the Nehru-Gandhi family is not negotiable. These three things are non-negotiable as far as I'm concerned. As far as my personal ambitions are concerned, Congress has given me so much.
So you're
and
saying
I've
they
got
were
it my own.
negotiable for Jyotiraditya Scindia?
Maybe yes.
At that point of
Maybe
time.
yes.
Many would suggest that he didn't get his due and it was the politics engineered by Kamal Nath and Digvijay ji.
See, how many of the people who in second or third term come into the cabinet, how many people are those who had access to the leadership? How many Congress people get an opportunity to be a part of the state organization, a part of the top
Him
political
leaving,
parties?
do you say it was a big loss?
Of course.
Your government fell.
See, the point is, yes, it did. But shouldn't he have been more reasonable, and should he not been more, I would say, committed to keep the government going? After all, people had elected his government on his sort of goading, in his sort of support.
Did you know it was coming? Did you see it coming?
There were indications.
Like?
There were indications that this may happen. So we had tried.
The Congress couldn't put it together. You knew it was coming.
Yeah, we sort of failed on managing contradictions. When I said managing contradiction is a part of
And you're saying you
politics.
were not part of that contradiction.
No, I was not. I may have been. To him, I'd please ask him. Why don't you ask him? In fact, he had gone on record to say that he had no issues with me. I'm quoting Jyotirad Scindia, not myself. So therefore, I think this thing is on an ideological ground. I can never sort of go.
Why were you blamed for it then?
Who?
You were blamed for what happened in Madhya Pradesh.
But see, this is my life. I've been blamed for everything
That you saying you haven't done.
because they're not done. Why? Because I have been totally against the ideology of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh and the Jansangh and the Bharatiya Janata Party, and they hate me. And they
Digvijay ji,
and
many will say you're looking for excuses now. I'll give you another example of something that you were blamed for. 2017 Goa. सरकार आपकी थी, आप बना सकते थे, आप इंचार्ज थे, और सब कहते हैं कि दिग्विजय सिंह ने बस मूव ही नहीं किया और बीजेपी ने जाके सरकार बना ली.
प्रीति, बात सुन लो. Please understand that when I was given charge of Goa, we had only 6 MLAs. Within 1.5 years, 2 years, they went up to 17 out of 40.
Yet you couldn't form government.
Then we were let down. We were let down by my own party itself, because I had proposed a coalition with Goa Forward, led by Vijay Sardesai, who is earlier a congressman, youth Congress president. Yeah. So, behind my back, the General Secretary AICC did not know, and the PCC president then, PCC President Goa, he gave a reform against the Goa Forward leader Vijay Sardesai to a person who had sort of burned my effigy in front of the PCC office without asking me. Now,
so you're saying your own party?
No, if Goa Forward had been in alliance with us, although we discussed, of course, along with Mr. Venugopal, you can ask him. He was the observer. We went to Mr. Vijay Desai's house, and he agreed that yes, he'll support. But within 2-3 hours, Mr. Gadkari came with bags and bags of you know what, and those 4 MLAs had gone.
Despite you being the single largest party.
Of course, yes. Of course, yes.
But you took the fall for it, or you were made the fall guy, because in 2 months you were removed. So were you made the fall guy, or you took the fall?
No, listen. 2017, I said I've had enough of in the Congress party.
Because you were betrayed by your own party.
No.
You only said it.
No. I said we were betrayed. Yes, I was betrayed by the then
Your party.
by PCC president who joined TMC then.
But you were betrayed. But that just talks about the Congress, Digvijay ji.
Preeti, this is politics. This may happen. It happens in BJP also.
I'm trying to think when it happened last.
So there are instances I'll tell you. But the fact remains, you ask Uma Bharti where she is today. So point
She has nice things to say about you. She has very nice things to say about you.
I'm grateful to her. The point I'm to make is that as far as Goa is concerned, I was the fall guy. Charges were leveled against me, and no one sort of gives me the credit that from 6 MLAs I took the Congress this MLA strength to 17, 3 times more, and yet I was blamed by the press and
Your party removed you.
Maybe yes, they did not remove me.
Okay.
I had volunteered because I had wanted to go for a Narmada Parikrama. So,
No, which you've spoken at play. But I want to stick to this because you say you and KC Venugopal, the word has it, Digvijay ji, that there are 2 parts to the Congress today, which the Prime Minister says also that the Congress is at the verge of splitting because there are 2 opinions. And you also say that there are 2 opinions in the Congress. But earlier on you had said that. But let me come back to the question that I'm raising. There is this old guard, which is the likes of Digvijay ji and the rest. Kamal Nath ji, who himself said कि आज तक तो पता ही नहीं होता, अखबार में पढ़ के पता चलता है कि मीटिंग हो रही है, which you also said you supported with what Kamal Nath said.
Preeti, the point is, I'm 78, he's 79. Time is now, the Gen Z has come in. So as far as that is concerned, I have no problem. The point I'm to make is, decision making of the Congress
Is KC Venugopal ji Gen Z?
No, he's not, but he's somewhere in between. The point I'm to make is, the decision making in the Congress party has to be faster. The Congress party has to go down to the people and also has to go aggressively against the ideology of hatred and the religious fanatic ideology of the RSS, not only the Hindu fanaticism. I'm against the Muslim fanatic ideology also. And you wouldn't believe, I've got cases against me by the RSS and the BJP. Yet, and also at the same time, I've got cases against me filed by Mr. Owaisi. So therefore, I think I've been extremely, fair, that I sort of respect my ideology, that we have to give respect to all religions, and we have to fight the religious fanaticism of every religion. Because religious fanaticism is not the essence of religion.
What some congressmen believe, like I said, that there are 2 guards. One is the old guard, doesn't have to be old in age, but the old Congress thinking guard and the new young Turks. And there's a conflict between the 2. And there is a suggestion within the Congress that maybe Rahul Gandhi is promoting a left-leaning ideology which the current context in India doesn't subscribe to it. JNU studied, lots of, these young leaders.
Congress has always been left of center. So what is new about it? Congress has always stood up for the weaker sections.
You're saying there's no conflict?
No, there is no ideological conflict. The point I'm to make is that this Congress party is a party which has believed in communal harmony, which has believed in a positive support and greater opportunities for the weaker sections who have been denied for centuries. So therefore, I think there is no shift in ideology. It is the functioning of the AICC.
Personal ambitions.
No, first, and the functioning of the AICC at times, because we fought 2 Haryana elections without an organization. So I think the organizational strength, the structure has to be put in the right place, and we have to work harder at the grassroots. We have to work far, I would say, aggressive line with our workers have to take, so that they have to go and be accessible to the people, meet people, make the lowest level of the polling booths and the mohalla committees stronger. This is where the need is today.
Personal ambitions, and you talk about the young going up against the old. It played out in the form of Ashok Gehlot versus Sachin Pilot in Rajasthan. Right now, as you and I speak, it's playing out in Karnataka with Siddaramaiah versus DK Shiv Kumar.
This will always be there, but this is always the ideological and personal ambition.
So
That
should old give way to the new?
Personal ambition is necessary in politics. There is no harm. But it should not go against the very idea of our party.
So it's like I said, it's played down. Like I said, it played out in front of you, where it was Jyotiraditya Scindia versus Digvijay Singh and Kamal Nath together. Okay, that it was only Kamal Nath and Jyotiraditya Singh.
I don't. It is more. He saw more opportunity in the BJP maybe.
No, okay, but the fact is, Sachin Pilot nearly saw more opportunity in the BJP but didn't see it eventually, right? Yeah. Today you have a DK Shiv Kumar versus Siddaramaiah, which apparently DK Shiv Kumar was promised that he would be given chief ministership. And
today, first of all, I've always been against this sharing of 2.5 years.
That shouldn't happen.
It doesn't work.
It should have been either DK or it should have been Siddaramaiah ji.
It has to be, leader has to be elected by the legislature party. So whoever gets the majority must become the chief minister. The number two will become the deputy chief minister. I was elected as the chief minister in 1993 by voting. So
Siddaramaiah ji should continue to be the chief minister.
No, if he has the majority in the legislature party, why shouldn't he continue?
So you're saying it's wrong by suggesting that you will get 2.5 and you will get 2.5.
No, I'm sort of. I don't know whether it's a fact or not. Whether it's by division of 2.5.
DK Shiv Kumar.
But on principle, I have my this thing that the leader has to be elected by the legislature party, and the leader remains the leader of the legislature party till he has the majority. Simple. These are basic fundamentals of democracy.
But then, there will be certain leaders who will never give way. Like Sachin Pilot till date is finding it very difficult to come into his own in Rajasthan because he doesn't have the weight of the proverbial high command.
No. The point is high command.
Or the high command is hedging.
High command is not interfering in all this. The point is, Sachin Pilot was given full opportunity. He should have waited. That's it. He was a deputy.
Kab tak wait karenge? He'll become old guard, waiting for the old guard to retire.
He was a deputy chief minister at that time. He was being supported by this leadership. He was given an opportunity by the leadership to become the state president, and he led the party as a PCC president, became deputy chief minister.
So he should have waited, you're saying?
Absolutely.
So DK Shiv Kumar should wait?
No. If the point I'm trying to make is, I can't speak up. I'm not spokesperson for DK Shiv Kumar, but that is what it is.
Digvijay ji, I'm going to take the last 10 minutes of your time, and for someone. They have to be, 50 years in public life is a while. And there have to be some regrets. What's your biggest regret, both personal and professional?
See, and as far as I'm concerned, I have no regrets.
Zero regrets?
I have no regrets because I believe that in every situation, at every point, I have taken a decision which I thought was the best. Why should I regret? Because it's my own personal decision.
Do you regret standing on that podium and blaming the RSS for 2611, that book release which happened?
I did not.
The book blamed. It said that it was 2611 was RSS's
No, it was a question mark.
Huh.
It was a question mark. And I said publicly, no, it is not RSS. It is a clear-cut
Then why stand on that podium?
Huh?
Do you regret standing on that podium? Because that has defined you in a way.
No, I don't. Because I took that podium along with Mahesh Bhatt, who is my dear friend, and also one or two people from the senior people in the Congress party. So I don't, because the fact is, I have always stood up for the rights of the minorities and the weaker sections. Whenever. But yet at the same time, I am against religious fanaticism as an ideology. Whether it is
till date, Amit Shah uses it. Amit Shah ji use it to attack you, Digvijay.
No, because he loves to attack. Because RSS, I'm the best target for the RSS BJP, because I oppose them ideologically. I oppose. Why? Tell me one thing. Can you have a largest NGO unregistered in this country? And the press is quiet about it? Why are you quiet about it? And the Prime Minister justifies that an unregistered body can sort of survive in this country without any registration. They are not accountable to anyone. They are not
point.
accountable to law, to
No,
rules.
fair point,
What
fair
is that?
point. But to
And
blame
why-
the RSS was something that the Pakistan was solely
No,
responsible.
I never blamed that.
But you stood on the podium and you don't
No,
regret.
but that book had a question mark.
You have a thick skin, like you said. You will not. I said you do have a thick skin. You will not. If you don't want to accept something, you will
No,
not
the
accept it.
point is, I took a decision to stand on the podium. No one forced me to do that.
Fair point.
So therefore, I think why should I blame anyone? It was my decision, and my decision I don't regret, because this was a book which had a question mark, yet they had some facts which sort of, at that point, if you remember, some right-wing, I would say fanatic Hindu organizations were involved in
Okay.
in terrorism.
If Digvijay Singh had to give advice to his younger self, you know, you're 78 right now.
Yeah.
If you needed to speak to a 28-year-old Digvijay Singh, what would you tell him?
Point is, Digvijay Singh was 28 in the 70s. Now it is.
In hindsight, so you have the, the opportunity of
I
that.
told you I have no regrets. I have taken decisions as per my own wisdom, and I don't regret at all. I have led a good life. I've got a fine family, and I have no problem.
So you wouldn't tell him
I will stand by the three principles I told you.
which you told me. So you wouldn't tell.
Never compromise on secularism, never compromise on left of center, and never compromise on the ideology of the Congress party, and never ditch the Nehru Gandhi
So
family.
you wouldn't tell him to do anything differently in his life.
No, what I
Your younger self.
No.
No?
I'm quite happy.
Lead it exactly the way you want
Yeah,
it, the way it
absolutely,
is.
yes, absolutely,
Well, that's
yes.
quite tremendous to say that. Digvijay ji, is this, you had said that it was your last election. You're done with fighting an election in terms of for Lok Sabha?
Of course, yes.
That's over.
That's clear. I'm 78 now. New people must come in.
New people must come in.
Yes.
Should new people come in Rajya Sabha as well? Your term is
Why
going to
not?
be up.
Why not? Why
You're
not?
willing to give up Rajya Sabha
See,
as well.
it's not. The point is, Preeti, the Congress party resolutions are that the person should not be given 2 consecutive terms of Rajya Sabha. So that's it.
So you know this is going to be your fight when you sign off in 26.
I'm quite happy,
You're happy.
and I'm looking forward to it.
You're looking forward to it. How are you going to use the time?
Well, I have a plan.
Which is
I'll let you know.
more padyatras.
Maybe not.
You're
But
one of
yes,
the fittest politicians I've seen. You know,
no, that's a great compliment.
It is, and you're very old school. And I have to say, because I tracked your campaign,
Yeah.
and in the middle of the night, all you take is that little transistor, and not a transistor, it's a speaker, loudspeaker. While you were doing your padyatras in 2024 Lok Sabha, your last election,
Yeah.
I saw you very, very fit, sir. It's quite tremendous.
Oh, well, that's a great
And
compliment
to go
coming from you.
late into the night, and because I tracked you for 2 days, so yeah, I did think it was very old school, very different than what I'm used to. Because right now you see them on these ruts and these vans and waving out. It was very
You
different.
see, from day one, I have been among the people, and I hope I breathe my last among the people.
I'll come back again. So no Rajya Sabha again.
Why are you so particular
Because a lot
about
of people seem to suggest that you're lobbying for one.
What nonsense!
No, all nonsense.
I have never lobbied for myself.
Nothing to it.
I have left it to my high command.
If they say कि एक और बार Digvijay ji, back to back repeat कर देते हैं इस
The
बार.
point is, when the party has taken a decision, no third term continues third term. Of course, there have been exceptions, but I'm not going to ask for it.
You're not going to ask for it. It's a piece of advice for Rahul Gandhi.
Ji,
For advice for Rahul Gandhi,
continue doing what he is.
which many say he takes a lot of holidays, he's inconsistent. So he does a, Bharat Jodo and then he's not there.
No, the point is that is his personal
Right
life.
before
That is
elections,
his personal life.
in Bihar he's not
That
there.
is his personal life. I would
Personal
not
is
like to
political,
comment.
political is
The-
personal, sir.
The point I'm trying to make is his ideological line is absolutely correct. His fight against the communal forces and against the people who are destroying this constitution is perfect. and we support him.
You could say that he can be more consistent. You wouldn't say it.
No, he's consistent.
Now you're being diplomatic and politically correct.
No, he's consistent in his ideology.
Then he needs to be an academic and not a politician.
Why?
Because you can be consistent in ideology.
Why can't academician be a politician and
Because
a politician can't be academician?
No, because in politics you might be you can be consistent in ideology, but you need to be consistently seen by your people doing the same thing.
But he's doing what you see
He was
he's doing.
out on personal work right before Bihar elections.
No, I don't think so. He had some engagements, maybe. I don't know.
You never criticize the Gandhis, will you?
If I have to criticize, I'll criticize in front of them. Why should you guys criticize
That's
before
fair.
you?
I agree. No, I was trying my luck. That I agree. You don't need to do it on national
I hope
television.
I've not given you opportunity.
No, fair point. Do you have any memory, of your 50 years in public life that has stayed with you? That is, it could be with, at your Narmada Yatra, it could have been that one moment, where you've been sitting on your own, epiphany, anything. Do you have any memories when you look back?
You see, I have so many memories, so I can't sort of pick up one. And I'm I enjoyed every bit of it. I have no regrets.
You've been quite resilient as well. You've had, a fair amount of personal tragedies in your life. I don't want to reflect on any of them, but to go through it with no regrets, it's okay. Wear it on your sleeve. It's commendable.
You see, I have taken a decision on my own. Okay. Whether people like it or not. That's it.
Fair point. My last question, Digvijay ji. If tonight, if Digvijay Singh had to have hosted dinner and he had 3 people he could invite to that dinner, anyone you can, pick from any space, any time, who would those 3 people be?
My old school friends.
Your old 3 school friends? वो तो ऐसे ही आते होंगे.
So why should I keep them away?
You could go back. You could get Hemingway. You could get
Forget about
Frida
that.
Kahlo.
The point is, if I have to, at this age, want to have dinner with 3 persons whom I want to have, my school friends, naturally.
At this age, Digvijay Singh is reconciled to his age. It didn't look like you had earlier.
No,
when we spoke with you earlier, you seemed to behave and speak as if you were 20 years younger.
Well, that's a compliment coming from you, but the fact remains that I am 78, and although I don't feel 78, I'm doing fairly well health-wise.
Touch wood.
But the fact remains that there is a time when you must also know what one has to do. So time has come.
What is the time? What is this time for you? That one must do.
Shall let you know.
Which you let us know. Okay. We'll wait for that. Digvijay ji, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Preeti. Thank you.